as big of a goal as trying to make $1 million or trying to raise $1 million or trying to raise $10 million or whatever the number is, whatever it is you're trying to do, the ability for you to be able to break that down into a small yes and see that happen quickly will continue to build a lot of confidence and trust in yourself too, your own belief. Like, if I can get a yes to this, what else can I get a yes to? That's one thing that has been crazy for myself over the last couple of years and in the year that, when I made $1 million, was I started getting yeses to things that I was like kind of surprised to myself, but it was only because I had gotten a lot of yeses to easier yeses before. So your ability to create a small win yes quicker will get you to that bigger yes faster.
Right. Because it builds the trust.
Yep.
And that's important when you're doing this.
Yeah. Specifically in this vehicle. Yes. Yeah. And in the technique in that too, if you've noticed, is I'm almost always ending, and I've become more aware of it myself, we're almost always ending our text with a question for them to respond to. Just like when you're in the close of a deal, you want people to say, is this everything you were looking for? Yes. Do you have any other questions that need to be, clarified? No, I don't. Did you get to take a look at the proposal? Yes, I did. These quick answers, and hopefully in the affirmative as much as possible, so that they're used to saying yes. Are you ready to get this done today? Yes. Have we removed every single obstacle necessary for you to say yes? Yes. So it's that technique, I think, that was different too, just based off of what I saw with our text this past week.
Yeah.
So what number are you at? We're sitting here February 28th for the year.
In what I have been paid, or what is going to be paid?
What's going to be paid as a result of your work? Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Including real estate projects.
Yep. Because you don't necessarily want to pat yourself on the back, but you also want to recognize and bring awareness to the work that you've done that's gotten you to this point.
Yeah. So at 54,000.
54,000. Okay, cool. And if we were on track, we would be at whatever,
like 186 or
166.
166.
Okay. So we're about a third of the way there of where we should be. So what do you think you're missing?
I think it's kind of like you've been saying, is it's going to add up. There's going to be a big second half of the year, just what we're doing at this point, because 2 months ago, I guess you could say completely off the wrong track, but now it's been trending upwards. It's just going to take time with what we're working on, to then talk to more people, have more conversations like we did last week, get more people on our free webinars, get them free value, get them to trust me, get them to trust us, buy into what we're doing, and then be more open to engaging in other services. And I think that's just going to take time, but now the activity's there and it's going to compound.
You feel like your activity is there?
Yes, but I think there's opportunity for it to be more, going to meet more people this year. More people get involved in the conversations. Conversations that started in February are going to continue into, August, September, October, November.
Yeah. Well, and look, like activity can always, like I could do,
Always, yeah.
right? Like that awareness of, I think what I've seen over the last week that was different than the week before last was the amount of conversations we had. That has increased. And what I would call that is engagement. They're answering the questions. So your technique has improved a lot more from us being on the tech stream together. So we're doing it together. That's a big part of making a million. You got to do things together. It's so counterintuitive. Like you want to be, I don't know. I felt like I wanted to be my own person, want to make my own way. I'm going to do it like, no matter what I'm going to do. It's so much easier when you're doing these things together. And out of everybody, you're embracing that more than anybody, like you really are. And I appreciate that. It's going to get you to that big, hairy, audacious goal sooner.
Mm-hmm. I think if that's really what it takes, then like, okay, if I have to be on a text string with you every time to make $1 million, well, that's not that big of an ask. Yeah.
And it's not because it's me. I had other people that were with me that at the time. I had third-party voices that were, and really what it was for me, Tim, was, we're trying to do this in a year for you based off of you've already had 2 years experience, but really that, or 3 years experience, really those 3 years weren't really the way we wanted to be.
They weren't this. Yeah.
And two, for me, it was, I went all the way, I would say I go all the way back to 2005 when I started my career before I actually made $1 million in 2021. That was a long time because I was doing it more on my own and using third-party voices, but it was in a 4-hour golf round. Honestly, it was 4 hours of having the conversation with the same 3 people. When now look at how many conversations we have in 4 hours because of the technology that we have and the products and services that we offer. It's a lot easier to scale trust in that. And you're able to talk to more people, which you got to talk to more people in order to get to that income level.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious what your thought is. And I know we've been working with Hank on it, scaling that message and that trust, not only one conversation at a time, but with, thousands of people, social media, Instagram, and what we're already working on. Because it also seems to me like scaling a message one conversation at a time is a hard way to do it, but it's going to be required either way.
It is a hard way to do it for sure, but the technique that I used with those individuals, like right now, we're kind of building this huge, I don't know how many people you and I have texted together, but you haven't even scratched the surface on your overall network. I think now, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think now, since you've seen what happened over this last week, where we're sending out these individual text messages and we're going about it in this systematic way, dude, anybody in your phone needs to watch this webinar, or it needs to at least be asked to watch the webinar, which then gives us the opportunity to ask them other questions. So the quality of your questions is going to determine the amount of conversations that you're going to have. So yes, it's hard to scale this, but you're getting more and more reps on asking better and better questions to get to an answer of who you're really going to help. Now, you're going to make the most money by solving the hardest problem. So a little bit of a transition. You've seen me asking this question: what's your biggest challenge in your business right now? Or what's your biggest challenge in your life right now? That's a nice question to ask anybody to figure out what's really bothering them. Now, if we see what the problem is and it's not a very significant problem, hey, we can solve that with a webinar. If it's a problem of, like, I had a client ask me, hey, I've got this loan that's requiring me to pay $26,000 a month in payments, and I can't afford that anymore. I need 175,000 at a lower interest rate so that I can actually afford this. That's a big problem to solve. That's something where we can solve a large problem and make more money because we're creating more value.
Right.
So the way that you're able to, I'm trying to get back around there, when you're saying, hey, I mean, we're going to have to send these individual text messages forever. Well, pretty soon you're only, I mean, relatively soon, you're only going to have to reach out to like 20 or 30 people because you know exactly how to get to the actual problem that's going to create the most value, which is going to create the most value for you.
Mhm. Yeah. And he would have never told you, hey, I have this loan, if you didn't ask, what's your biggest problem right now?
That I did never ask that. All I was talking
Really?
to him about was taxes. Then I got on the phone because he said, hey, I really want to get on the phone with you. Okay. Well, when I got on the phone, that's when he just opened up. And that's when I figured out, okay, this is the actual problem. Now I turned an opportunity that, by the way, that person too went on the webinar last week and purchased an Onward 72 ticket as well, by the way. So we got somebody to act on Onward 72 before even signing their or paying for their proposal for tax services. So now we've increased the opportunity to be able to help them, and we create enough trust through that webinar for them to open up and say, hey, this is what my problem is.